Paying fees on Ethereum has been a large source of frustration from many users, especially during massive spikes. I mean, you've probably experienced the CryptoKitties event where the Ethereum gas fee just went through the roof. It's actually a much bigger problem than many people understand. At the moment in Ethereum proof of work, users are paying around 5x more fees than they should actually pay, because without paying over the standard, your transaction takes a long time to go through. Many wallets and users are not really aware of how much fees they should pay. They go on ETH gas station, but in the end, many of them pay an average around 5 times more than they should actually be paying. And here's a really interesting calculation with the median over the 10th percentile and the mean over the 10th percentile of how much users are actually paying more in gas fees than they actually should. In this video, I want to talk to you about the EIP 1559. So if you're not sure what EIP is, well, basically an EIP stands for Ethereum Improvement Proposal. An EIP is a design document providing information to the Ethereum community or describing a new feature for Ethereum or its processes or environment. The EIP should provide a concise technical specification on the feature and the rationale for the feature. So the EIP 1559 is very, very interesting because it addresses the problems in the gas fee structure that is currently in place in Ethereum 1.0. The current model fails to properly price in cost because it assumes that for each hour there's going to be the same amount of usage. And that's the same as with a nuclear reactor or electricity grade that believes that everyone is going to use the same amount of electricity each hour for 24 hours a day. And that's not the case. You're going to have maybe during the day, you're going to have electricity spikes, and the same as with Ethereum. You're going to have some days where you're going to have a huge spike in transactions, and other days where you're going to have like nearly no transactions at all, or just a low level of transactions. So this is where EIP 1559 comes into play. It resolves the last piece of the Ethereum puzzle. It solves problems surrounding gas management, but it does a lot more than that. The two main elements are the base fee and the tip. This is a super interesting article by David Hoffman. I'll link it down below if you want to read it at your leisure. So the main two things that EIP 1559 does is, one, it makes sure that there's a fair market rate for block inclusion, and two, it burns the majority of ETH, that is the base fee, and that is a part of the transaction fee. Now you might be wondering, okay, but why would you burn a part of the transaction fee of ETH? By providing a deflationary mechanic to the Ethereum blockchain, you can reduce the ETH supply, which adds to the scarcity of ETH and also the long-term security of Ethereum. It also benefits all Ether holders because if there's more scarcity, that means that the price of Ethereum goes up, the value of ETH goes up. So what does EIP 1559 do? Well, algorithmic gas estimations is then built in, and that is then the market rate for gas. So that means using a system that is comparable to the Bitcoin difficulty adjustment, EIP 1559 increases or decreases a number, which is the base fee, and based on the current levels of congestion on Ethereum. If the Ethereum is greater than 50% utilized, the base fee automatically gets increased, and if it's under 50% of usage, then the base fee gets decreased. If you've used Ethereum wallets in the past and now as well, you're aware that you have to adjust your gas price to make sure that your Ethereum transaction goes through in a timely manner. Now, I remember very clearly I was participating in an ICO. I think it was called Car Vertical at the time. And very often these ICOs, they would offer like 10% or 20% bonus if you submitted within the first 2 hours. And I remember I was like at my computer, I had my finger on the send button, and the ICO opened up, I think around 10 a.m. in the morning, and I had around 2 hours to send my transaction. Now with many people wanting to profit from this 20% bonus from the ICO, many people were like waiting to send their transactions, and I made the huge mistake that I didn't put in enough gas. My transaction went through, but it was pending because so many transactions were being sent to that address. In the end, my transaction went through after 3 hours. That meant that I lost 10% of this bonus because the 2-hour window that I had time to send my transaction elapsed, and I came into the 10% bonus and not the 20%. I was pretty frustrated. That is why the current way that the gas rate is calculated needs to be improved. At the moment, it's just who bids the most gets passed. And what also happens is that miners, they will just fill up their blocks with very low transactions so that they can just fill it up then afterwards with high paying transactions. Now, hopefully in the future, what will be possible is that a user can just click on send Ethereum transaction without having to worry how much gas he's using for this transaction, because the base fee will be adjusted automatically based on the usage. So Eric Connors says, in times of high network usage, a user can ensure that their transaction is included sooner by including a larger tip along with a base fee amount. Meanwhile, users who are not in a hurry can set a maximum fee that they're willing to pay. The protocol will then wait for the base fee to drop below this number before confirming their transaction. So that's great. If someone wants to have the transaction jump the line, be done in a few minutes, even though there's a high network usage at the moment, they can just pay a much higher tip and their transaction will be sped through the line, be executed much faster. But if someone is like, okay, I don't really mind, my transaction can go in 3 hours, 4 hours, they can set the base fee with a very low tip, and then the transaction will be sent through as soon as the base fee decreased a bit. So in a nutshell, burning the base fee removes the ability for validators to manipulate the fee market for their benefit. It also locks in Ether as a native currency for Ethereum, as it should be. No other currency on Ethereum can be used to send transactions, which is very important, and it locks in the value proposition of Ether. Now, there's a super great analogy that I found that explains the base fee and the tip. Now, you can imagine different employees working for a company, and these employees get a salary, but the revenue, a big part of the revenue goes to the company. And that's the same with the Ethereum blockchain. When you send a transaction, the base fee is the revenue that goes to the company. And because it's burned, everyone that has some Ether supply is actually getting paid indirectly due to the scarcity model of this mechanism. And the tip is then the salary for the employee. And the employee in this case is the validator or the miner. Or you could just say it's like a tip jar for serving the highest paying customers first, but the base fee belongs to the network. So the base fee is the price that you pay to use the network. This is very similar to the Maker token in the MakerDAO protocol, where basically the stability fee that is paid in Maker gets burnt, and because it gets burnt, there's less Maker available, and when you reduce the available supply of something, well, then that what is remaining increases in value. And that's the same way what is happening with the Ethereum blockchain. The base fee gets burnt, and by reducing the supply, you increase the value of what's remaining. So you might have heard of the Aussie model with the transport layer, network layer, link layer, and so on. And what I think is super interesting is that we'll be adding a new layer, and that is the Web2 value layer. So you can create a layer of value between the other layers, and that allows a lot more possibilities on the internet. I want to share with you one last analogy that helps maybe bind all these elements together. The EIP 1559. I want to share with you one last analogy that helps to bond everything together in the Ethereum blockchain, especially now with the new proof of stake coming. So you've got the economy of the whole ecosystem, and that's the applications, the decentralized finance applications. Hopefully in the future we'll also have other decentralized applications, not only finance, but maybe also decentralized security, decentralized insurance, but that's way into the future. And then we've got the bond market, and that is represented by the ETH stake rate, so the proof of stake, staking on Ethereum and all that. And yeah, that's represented by the bond market. And last, the most loved of all is the IRS. But in the case of the Ethereum blockchain, it's the EIP 1559, which means no more who should pay more pays less in taxes, and basically who uses the system the most has to pay the most to use the system, which is unfortunately not the case in our current economy, but hopefully it will be the case in the Ethereum blockchain. So yeah, EIP 1559 is the last piece in the Ethereum's blockchain economy, which will help improve scalability, reduce gas prices for everyone. As far as I understand, EIP 1559 is going to be implemented in Ethereum 2.0 blockchain from the get-going. It might also be implemented in Ethereum 1.0 blockchain, as I've seen on the Ethereum roadmap, which was presented by Vitalik Buterin, and he shows here that ETH 1.x should also implement EIP 1559 when it's finished, to hopefully provide some short-term usability relief, reducing also the prices that users have to pay when performing transactions. So that was today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll catch you in the next one. Have a good one. Bye bye.